Mozambique's Cabo Delgado insurgency has erupted into an open warfare in the north of that country. Just last week, nearly 200 people, including foreign workers, were forced to evacuate in a hotel in the town of Palma. That's where they're taken refuge. According to security sources, dead bodies littered the streets and beach sides, some of them decapitated. It's believed that South Africans are among those who are missing. To help us unpack the options that are currently available to the region, let's bring in senior researcher at the Institute for Security Studies, Liesl Louw-Vauldran, who joins us now via our video link. Liesl, thanks for your time. It's great to have you on the program. People who've been following the socio-political dynamics in Mozambique actually wouldn't be surprised that this has taken place because of the signs, perhaps, that had been there for quite some time. From your reading, why does it appear that the government in Mozambique is struggling so much to contain the situation?
Yes, thank you. Morning. This insurgency has been literally going on for the past 3 years, since the end of 2017. And there have been many attacks on small villages, entire villages that have been burnt down. People have been decapitated, even in large groups. So the warning signs have always been there. And then Palma is the northernmost town of Cabo Delgado, on on the coast near the border of Tanzania. So in this last couple of weeks, we've seen roads being blocked, many attacks right almost on the edges of Palma. So the reason why there are so many expats and people also refugees there is because the hinterland has literally been emptied out of its inhabitants due to this ongoing insurgency. In Palma, the South Africans and the foreigners are there mainly to work on the gas projects that are mini infrastructure projects that are being built right next to Palma on the Fungi Peninsula. So there have been many warnings and signs that this is happening. Now, the Mozambican government initially said, oh no, this is just, these are just criminal activities, we can handle it. Lately, they've been calling for assistance from the European Union. There have been private security, private military operators there, initially from Russia. That didn't last long. Then currently there are South African military operators that are there, and they are helping with the rescue operations. So there's a lot that could have been done to avoid this tragedy, but it literally has been going on for 3 years almost.
We'll speak about the options for other bodies like SADC in just a moment. Can you talk to us first about the strength of Al-Shabaab and how that's progressed over the years? It almost feels like there's a resonance that this group is having, specifically among young people in Mozambique. Why is that so from your reading?
Yes, from the studies that we've done, and at the ISS, we've really been following this very closely. It started in this harbour town, Mozambique, the Praia, that is also now occupied by the insurgents. A small group of radicals who then convinced others to basically attack the state. So many call this, more of a rebellion against the state because of frustration, marginalization. Many people were thrown off their land due to mining activity, even before the gas projects actually started. So they've been, as you say, it has been growing, and there have been growing links also with international terrorist groups like the Islamic State. The Islamic State, in fact, claims that it is it's a branch of the Islamic State that is active in Mozambique. Now, we do see paraphernalia claiming, the same sort of flags and dress and so on of the Islamic State, but the links between the Islamic State and these insurgents are not clear. Although we've seen foreign fighters coming from elsewhere joining the group, and also recruitment in the two other provinces of Mozambique, Nyasa and Nampula, that are around Cabo Delgado. So they have been growing in number. There have been a lot of activity also on the maritime side in the Mozambique Channel, where, as I said, one of the ports have now been occupied. And if these insurgents then capture Palma, which is the main port in the very north. Further south, Pemba is where the biggest port is, but that would be devastating, and that would, we in southern Africa, you know, to have a militant, radical extremist insurgency on our doorstep, literally, the region can't tolerate that.
Yeah. Let's speak a bit more about that then. You know, there are views that the worst thing to be done would be to add more boots to the ground. Perceptions that increased militarization actually will work against the people of Mozambique. That in mind, and also considering that it's very difficult to negotiate with people who are considered terrorists, what should SADC do?
Yes, I mean, we've been calling on SADC now, literally also for a very long time, to have a response that is integrated. There has to be a military response. Even from South Africa, we have to secure our investments. Remember, Standard Bank, the IDC, many private companies are involved in this huge investment in the gas there in Cabo Delgado. So SADC and the neighbors have to secure the area and their own citizens and assist Mozambique. So somehow, and I mean, SADC does have capabilities in terms of a standby force if they started 2 years ago with the planning and getting the African Union involved, getting the United Nations involved. But there also has to be a humanitarian response. There are now, together with the 700,000 that have already fled their homes, people who are internally displaced. Of course, now with the crisis in Palma, that's now the pressure on cities like Pemba are huge. So there must be a humanitarian response, but also a political response. We, you know, have seen, for example, with Boko Haram in the Lake Chad Basin, in the Sahel region, that the military response doesn't work against terrorism. A military response alone has never worked anywhere. But we've now seen in other parts of the continent that there are more and more discussions amongst communities, de-radicalization, dialogue even. As you say, you know, it's difficult to negotiate with a faceless enemy because these guys, we don't even know their real name and leadership, although some think they know. But you know, so there are other options than just a military option, but for the short term, there needs to be a concerted effort and collaboration amongst the SADC member states.
Yeah, the story has also become incredibly significant for South Africans over the past few days for two reasons. One, we know that some of the casualties in this latest wave of attacks are South African, but reports this morning as well emerging that those who are part of the attackers include South African citizens too. It's led to questions around how worried we should be in South Africa about this spilling over into our borders.
Yes, we should be extremely worried, and I think within government and especially in certain circles, people who have received that intelligence are extremely worried. It is tricky because the Islamic State has even threatened South Africa that if we do get involved militarily, there will be retaliation. So I'm not saying there are any easy solutions, but so what is the threat to South Africa? There is no threat really at any point. I think that the territorial spread of this conflict will spill over the borders to South Africa. The country that is most threatened by that is southern Tanzania because it's on the border, and there have even been attacks across the border to Tanzania. But what can happen is that, as you say, some South Africans could join the insurgency, and that there can be retaliation within South Africa. It is a danger, and as I said, there are no easy answers, but it's almost as if the region and the international community has led this situation to fester. And once again, South Africa can't just bilaterally respond. We are in a region, we do have institutions like SADC, like the African Union. We have the United Nations. So ideally, we wouldn't need to respond bilaterally as South Africa, but within an organized response by the international community.
Very quickly, another link to South Africa is through the, I think it's the Dyke Advisory Group. Yeah, that's a private security company that was actually initially deployed there to try help clamp down on the insurgency. They're the ones who are credited in some newspapers this morning here in South Africa with helping get some people out to safety. However, earlier this month, this very same group was implicated by a report from Amnesty International for also carrying out atrocities. This all paints the picture of Mozambican civilians who really have little reason for hope.
Yes, they've been accused of human rights abuses because of their methods in trying to attack the insurgents. So almost, I would say, collateral damage in a way. Civilians are being killed by the way that they are attempting to assist. And so their contract is actually expiring, but they have been very much involved with their helicopters bringing people from the beaches in Palma to safety. So, but it's very controversial. South Africa has laws against mercenary activities, and it remains a big question mark why we haven't said anything or acted against this Dyke Advisory Group. Is it because we, as South Africa, have been reticent to actually act and to send our own soldiers, and so we literally just let this private military company to continue? But I think with this big attack these last few days, all of this is now going to be on the table, and hopefully we will see new responses from the South African government there.
Liesl, thanks very much for getting us a sense of what you know. Certainly a complex situation unfolding in Mozambique. We'll also try to keep a close eye on it. Liesl Louw-Vauldran is with the Institute for Security Studies. In fact, she's a senior researcher there. Liesl, once again, thanks very much indeed.